My supportive sister stole my identity to fund her lavish lifestyle, then begged for forgiveness when it all came crashing down. My life used to be average, I suppose. Not bad, not spectacular, just comfortably in the middle. I had a decent job as a freelance graphic designer, a small but cozy apartment in a city I loved, and a tight-knit circle of friends. And then there was my sister, Sarah. Sarah was always the more glamorous one, the life of every party, the one who always seemed to have the latest everything, despite her inconsistent work history. I, on the other hand, was the reliable one, the one who paid her bills on time, saved diligently, and rarely indulged in extravagant purchases. I always admired her vivacity, her ability to charm anyone, and honestly, a small part of me envied her seemingly carefree existence. Little did I know that carefree existence was built on a foundation of lies, a foundation she was steadily building using my identity that I started subtly, so subtly that I barely noticed it at first. A credit card application I didn't remember submitting, quickly dismissed as junk mail. A slight dip in my credit score that I attributed to a forgotten bill or an error on a report. Sarah would occasionally ask to borrow money, small amounts that she always promised to repay, though often late, if at all. I never pressed her, she was my sister, and I wanted to be supportive. She was always spinning tales of her latest entrepreneurial venture, a new line of artisanal candles, a groundbreaking app idea, a boutique consulting service. None of them ever seemed to fully take off, but she always had a plausible explanation, and I, ever the trusting sister, believed her. The first major red flag appeared when I received a letter from a debt collection agency for a substantial amount of money I knew nothing about. It was for a luxury car lease in a city I'd never even visited. Panic set in. I immediately called the agency, bewildered and insisting there must be a mistake. They rattled off details, my name, my date of birth, even my social security number. That's when a cold dread began to seep into my bones. Only a handful of people knew that information, and at the top of that list was Sarah. I confronted her, my voice trembling with a mixture of fear and disbelief. She looked genuinely shocked, her eyes wide with what appeared to be innocent confusion. She swore she had no idea, suggested it must be a phishing scam or a rogue ex-boyfriend trying to get revenge. I wanted to believe her, I really did. The thought of my own sister doing something so heinous was almost too much to bear. But the evidence, even then, was starting to pile up that I spent weeks meticulously combing through my financial records. What I uncovered was a chilling tapestry of deception. Credit cards opened in my name, with massive balances, used for designer clothes, expensive vacations, lavish dinners, and rent on an apartment far beyond my means. Loans taken out, again in my name, for business investments that never materialized. She had systematically and expertly stolen my identity, piece by piece, building a parallel financial life that was entirely her own, but with my name attached to every debt. The luxury car lease was just the tip of the iceberg. There were multiple credit cards, each maxed out. Personal loans from obscure lenders with exorbitant interest rates. Even a small mortgage on a property in a different state, which turned out to be a vacation home she was using. The sheer audacity of it, the scale of her betrayal, made me feel physically ill. My credit score, once impeccable, was in ruins. I was drowning in debt that wasn't mine, debt that had funded her opulent lifestyle while I was meticulously saving for a down payment on a small house. When I confronted her again, armed with irrefutable proof, she finally broke down. The carefully constructed facade crumbled, revealing a sobbing, desperate woman. She confessed everything, through gasps and apologies. She claimed she had gotten into financial trouble after one of her ventures failed, and just needed a little help to get back on her feet. She said she always intended to pay it back, that she just needed more time, that she was going to tell me, eventually. She swore it was out of love, that she was just trying to provide for herself and thought I wouldn't mind helping her out temporarily. The excuses were endless, nonsensical, and deeply insulting. "I didn't think you'd notice. You're so careful with your money," she whimpered, as if my fiscal responsibility was the problem. "I just needed a little boost, and you always have so much saved." The sheer entitlement in her voice, even amidst her tears, was infuriating. She wasn't asking for help, she was stealing from me, systematically dismantling my financial future for her own selfish desires. My parents, when I finally told them, were devastated. They had always adored Sarah, seeing her as the vibrant, ambitious one. They struggled to comprehend the depth of her deception. They tried to mediate, to convince me to forgive her, to work it out as a family. My mother pleaded. "She's your sister. Darling, she made a mistake. We can help her fix it." My father offered to lend her money to start paying me back, a gesture that felt like a slap in the face. Their immediate instinct was to protect Sarah, to minimize her actions, rather than acknowledge the profound damage she had inflicted upon me. I refused their attempts at reconciliation. There was no working it out. This wasn't a disagreement, this was a crime. I had to make a difficult decision, one that tore at my heart, but one I knew was necessary for my own survival. I contacted the police. The investigation was lengthy and emotionally draining. Every conversation with law enforcement felt like recounting the details of a painful breakup, except the person I was breaking up with was my own sister, and the pain was financial ruin and emotional betrayal. Sarah was arrested. The news ripped through our extended family like wildfire. Relatives I hadn't spoken to in years called, some offering sympathy, others chastising me for ruining my sister's life. The judgmental whispers were almost as painful as the betrayal itself. During this time, I was also frantically trying to repair my credit. It was a nightmare. I spent countless hours on the phone with banks, credit card companies, and collection agencies, explaining my situation, providing police reports, filling out endless forms. Each denial, each skeptical voice on the other end of the line, felt like a fresh wound. My dream of buying a house was shattered. My savings, which I had carefully built over a decade, were gone, eaten up by legal fees and the immediate necessity of paying off some of the smaller, more pressing debts to prevent further damage to my credit. Sarah's trial was a public spectacle, at least for our family and friends. She pleaded guilty, likely advised by her public defender that the evidence against her was overwhelming. She was sentenced to 2 years in prison and ordered to pay restitution. The restitution order, however, was a hollow victory. She had no assets, no income, and would likely never be able to repay the astronomical amount she owed me. While Sarah was incarcerated, my parents visited her regularly. They would call me afterward, relaying her apologies, her remorse, her promises to change. They genuinely believed she had learned her lesson, that she was a changed woman. I, on the other hand, remained skeptical. Remorse, to me, was meaningless without tangible action, without a genuine understanding of the gravity of her actions, not just the consequences for herself. Upon her release, Sarah was a different person, at least on the surface. She was thinner, quieter, and seemed genuinely humbled. She found a low-paying job and moved into a small, shared apartment. My parents, elated by her apparent transformation, continued to advocate for her, urging me to forgive her, to welcome her back into my life. "She's paid her dues, darling," my mother would say. "It's time to let go of the anger." But the anger wasn't gone. It simmered beneath the surface, intertwined with a deep sense of loss. The loss of my financial security, the loss of my trust, and the profound loss of the sister I thought I knew. I had moved on with my life as best as I could. I had rebuilt my credit, slowly, painstakingly, but it was still a shadow of what it once was. The fear of financial instability lingered, a constant companion. Then, about 6 months after her release, Sarah contacted me directly. Not through our parents, but a direct message, apologetic and hesitant. She said she had been thinking about me constantly, about the pain she caused, and that she wanted to try and make amends. She offered to meet for coffee, just to talk. Against my better judgment, driven by a flicker of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, she truly had changed, I agreed. The coffee meeting was awkward. She cried, she apologized profusely, she spoke about her time in prison, the lessons she learned, and her commitment to becoming a better person. She looked me in the eye and said, "I know I can never truly repay you, but I want to spend the rest of my life trying. I want my sister back." I listened, my heart a complex tangle of emotions. A small part of me wanted to believe her, wanted to embrace the idea of having my sister back. But the larger part, the part that had been burned so deeply, remained guarded. A few weeks later, Sarah called me, her voice filled with a familiar panic. She had been fired from her job. Apparently, her criminal record had come to light, and the company, a small retail store, had let her go. She was distraught, explaining that she had no other options, that no one would hire her with a felony conviction. She was facing eviction, unable to pay her share of the rent. And then came the request, the one I had been dreading, the one that shattered any remaining illusion of her transformation. "I know this is a huge ask," she began, her voice barely a whisper, "but could you co-sign a loan for me? Just a small one, to get me back on my feet. I promise, I'll pay you back. I'll get a new job, I swear. I just need this one chance. The words hit me like a physical blow. A co-signed loan. After everything she had done. After she had systematically destroyed my financial stability, she was now asking me to put my painstakingly rebuilt credit on the line for her again. The audacity was breathtaking. My initial shock quickly morphed into a searing rage. "Are you serious, Sarah?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. "After you stole my identity, ruined my credit, and put me hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, you think I'm going to co-sign a loan for you? You think I'm going to trust you with my financial future again?" She started to cry, her apologies tumbling out, mixed with pleas and desperate assurances. She said she had nowhere else to turn, that I was her only hope. She painted a picture of herself as a victim of circumstance, of a cruel system that wouldn't let her move on. She even invoked our shared childhood, our memories, trying to pull at emotional strings that had long since frayed, but I was done. Done with her excuses, done with her manipulation, done with her pretending to be remorseful while simultaneously looking for another way to exploit me. The new Sarah, the changed Sarah, was just the same old Sarah, albeit a bit more desperate. Her apologies were hollow, her promises meaningless. She hadn't truly changed. She had simply been caught that I told her, clearly and unequivocally, that I would not be co-signing any loan. That I would not be helping her financially in any way, shape, or form. That the trust between us was irrevocably broken, and that her actions had made it impossible for me to ever have a meaningful relationship with her again. I told her that she needed to face the consequences of her actions, just as I had been forced to face them. The phone call ended with her sobbing uncontrollably, accusing me of being heartless, of not truly loving her, of wanting her to fail. My parents, when they found out, were predictably disappointed in my lack of compassion. They called me cold, unforgiving, and cruel. They said I was kicking her when she was down, but I wasn't kicking her when she was down. I was finally standing up for myself. I was protecting my future, my sanity, and my peace. It was a painful realization, but I finally understood that Sarah's apologies, her tears, her promises of change, were all just another performance, another attempt to manipulate me into enabling her destructive behavior. Though it's been a few months since that phone call. I haven't heard from Sarah directly, though my parents occasionally mention her struggles with finding a new job and maintaining her apartment. They still try to subtly guilt-trip me, but their words no longer hold the same power. I'm focusing on my own life, on rebuilding what she destroyed, and on finding peace without the constant shadow of her drama looming over me. It's a lonely path sometimes, severing ties with family, but I've realized that true family doesn't exploit you, doesn't ruin your life for their own selfish gain. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from those who continuously cause you harm, no matter how much you wish things were different. The scars of her betrayal will always be there, but I'm learning to live with them, to heal, and to finally put myself first.